way, way, way. Ah, oh, way, way, way. Nisha say, way shamanike wo darianwa. Why are you calling me? Oh, look. Ta-da. You might recognize me now as a former cellmate. It's been a while. Hope you're doing just fine. I think about it and how much criminality is becoming a virtue. I might as well start talking more about times I've been in jail and in court. I'm not going to talk about the time that I climbed. My modus operandum in the police report was climbs in second-story windows. I climbed. And in that court case, I said to the judge, I said, well, sir, I said, I was in the Army, and they trained us to run, jump, and climb. And now when I drink, it seems that I'm doing it all the time. And he was like, you're crazy, right? And I said, well, sir, he says, you were crazy, right? And he made his eyes really big like that. And I said, I think I'm getting the point. I said, yes, sir. And I got a light sentence. See? I'm not going to talk about that court case. I have actually read from the police report. I found it in my stuff here about a year ago. If you can find it, it'd be just fine. But I'm not talking about it. I got invited in. I'm not talking about it. I was running down halls with a mirror. And a girl opened her door at like 2:30. And I said, do you want to look at yourself in the mirror? And she was ugly anyway. And she's doing this and she says, no, get out of here. And I said, okay. And I went running off. I didn't say anything about how ugly she was. I'm sure there was something about that I probably shouldn't have talked about as far as court records go, but I think the statute of limitations from about 20 or 30 years ago when they never found a body, I think I'm okay. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about how the police showed up and I was down on the first floor in the kitchen. And I have a vague notion, I remember this a little bit. They came in and I was like, hi, how you doing? And they said that I was very cooperative. My eyes were glassy like I'd been drinking. And the scratches on my back measured up. They complied with the blood on the shirt they found down beneath the window where I came in, where I was invited. I'm not going to talk about that at all. What I did want to talk about is the importance, and here it goes. I start with criminality, I move to our president-elect. You got to be able to go with this because I've always been a firm believer that if you're getting wrongfully accused of something, you need to take it to court because probably 50% of the time you'll get off. You'll still get the other 50% of the charges, but at the same time, it's less than it was going to be. And now that poor guy, he just uses going to court for every goddamn thing there is. For someone that is not into abiding by the law, he sure likes the courts, that poor guy. But this is the notion. You got to go to court. Just go. And it's that. You're going to get understood a little bit some more, sometimes more than you would have if you hadn't shown up and you just took it. I got put on probation that time for climbing the things. And I met with Hal Gonzalez, who always showed up with scruff, and his eyes were probably as red as mine in the police report. I had the best probation officer ever. He said, okay, you show up this once a month. And he'd come in, and I'd say, yeah. And after about 2 months, he said, you know what? You got a job. You're not screwing things up. Just mail it in. And I said, well, right from the start, I had said, I leave the state for my place of employ at least once a month. And he said, you should be okay. I'm like, fuck does that mean? You should be okay. Next thing you're on a damn moped somewhere and somebody pulls you over and your probation officer says, well, you should have looked into it. What do you mean I'll be okay? Something like that, you know? But I was supposed to go a year without any confrontation with the law. And there was the one day I was riding my motorcycle down through a part of San Jose, and there was a Corvette that had stopped in the middle of the road, had its backup lights on to try to parallel park. And I'm looking at that and I said, well, you know what? This is going to take a while. So I went around him, and I didn't speed. I didn't do anything. I just went around him, and there was a cop on a motorcycle, and he pulled me over. And I looked quite a lot like I do right now if I hadn't shaved yesterday. I just had this scruff, and I'm just looking like the scumbag that I am okay with looking like, because how better to talk to a scumbag than to look like one? And he's giving me a ticket because there was some old woman that was trying to get across the road and crosswalk at that same time, but she was like halfway across the road, way away from me hitting her. So instead of just squealing to a stop and sliding through her, I just said, oh, and I went through and around, no problem at all. That guy pulled me over. And I said, well, didn't you see that car? I said, I didn't do it. And that guy, he looks at me and he says, I'm just one man. I can't see everything. And I said, oh. And so here, 11 months after being on probation, when I'm about to escape probation, they never took my drinking away. It was 11 months, and I get a ticket. And I'm like, this is going to go bad. And so I said, hell with you, sir. I took it to court. And that pisses the cops off anyway, because the way I understand it, they get a certain amount of days off for court. And if they don't use them, they can just take them as a paid time off. So you screwed up somebody's day off. I took it to court. We walked in, and I was standing across the aisle from the guy. You've always got people with their lawyers. I don't know why anybody needs a lawyer. I know it goes bad when you're going against the government, but on a daily basis, I don't ever see anybody with a lawyer do any better than I do. And the magistrate was up there, and that cop was across the aisle from me, and he had a tweed jacket with patches on the elbows. He looked just like a regular guy, you know, but I came in looking like a lawyer. I've got a nice suit, and when I put my glasses on and put my hair up behind my head, where if I don't turn proper way, they don't know that I'm a fucking long hair. I look pretty good in court. And so there, that guy's talking about what happened. This is just a traffic ticket. You take him to court. But I said to him, and I was prepared, and I was looking good, and I was the way you're supposed to act in court, like you respect the system. If you don't respect the system, it questions your mindset and it doesn't respect you back. Respect the system. I said, well, Your Honor, what it all came out to was me at the end of my thing, after I talked about the Corvette and the cop and his statement. I said, well, Your Honor, he said he's just one man. He can't see everything. I said, well, I can't either. And during that time that I was talking, I was up here and I was watching myself talk, and I was starting to get concerned. Am I going to fuck it up because I'm thinking about it? But no, I just watched me talk. And the magistrate from up back there, he just, I came right back in and he said, case dismissed. And I said, yeah, I win again. But sometimes you have to step outside of yourself and don't allow yourself to get in the way. You take them to court.